Joyce, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. So, for everybody who doesn't know you, and if people don't know you, that's nuts. But tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, and all the things, Joyce.
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. My name is Joyce Toti. I am the proud founder, leader, and head mentor of Collective Women's Leadership here in Las Vegas that was founded a year ago in April. And I left corporate America during COVID, spent 25 years in that, went back to grad school, and in grad school realized when I was with all of these young, amazing women in their mid to late 30s, or excuse me, mid to late 20s, they were really lost. They continued to ask me how I had such a strong voice, a sense of direction, an opinion, and a point of view, how I showed up the way I did. And what was fascinating is at that moment, I realized that we had this whole generation of young ladies who entered the workforce during COVID in their bed, in their pajamas, behind a computer screen. And they lack, unfortunately, what happens to no fault of their own. It lacks a confidence that we were taught because we had to put in the reps and show up and have tough conversations that weren't behind a screen and really just get through the tough pieces of life face to face. So Collective Women's Leadership was founded on we didn't care your background, what level of career you had, what industry you were in. We wanted to create a space for all women to come together to help lift one another up.
I am curious about that though, because one of the things that you just said was that women wanted to know how directed and focused that you were. Would you say that this is a struggle that a lot of young women have?
I think self-advocacy is something that people don't understand. And they are not self-advocating for themselves or others because they don't know how. And the root causes of that really is a confidence that comes through learning and making mistakes and getting back up. And then the second piece of that is they have no identity from a personal branding perspective because maybe it's all over the board. And then that paired with they don't have perspective or they're afraid to speak up in rooms that they are in because they don't know how to add value due to imposter syndrome.
Now, you were in corporate America
Mhm.
and made the transition to do something for women. Why is this significant to you at this stage in your life right now?
Because mentorship stopped being talked about after COVID. I think we were on a really great trajectory, and corporations did a really nice job prior to COVID coming up with programs that were women-centric, women in leadership, all of the leadership initiatives that were around women. And unfortunately, COVID put a blunt stop to that based on the circumstances that were all being faced. And then once everything opened back up after COVID, companies had to shift their priorities to really learning how to run companies with workers who were not coming into an office. And I think companies are really just now trying to find their footing in terms of how to grow these great, successful companies. And the mentorship piece has gone away because more and more people are working remotely, but it's causing more and more stagnation. It's causing more and more lack of confidence. We're not talking about confidence anymore. We're not talking about how to show up as your best self anymore. No one's talking about this. So I became a very loud voice, a very powerful loud voice to want to give back and help these women find their path and their way because they are stuck.
Do you think that this has something to do with your purpose? Because a lot of women, they're just going through the motions, just kind of doing the thing. Let me show up for the Zoom call. Let me just kind of show up for my life. I'm going to make dinner. I'm going to run some errands. Do you really feel a sense of calling and this is really part of your purpose and not just a passion project?
Oh, this is definitely not a passion project. I think people that know me and people who are involved in Collective Women's Leadership know it's not a passion project. I work tirelessly. I work 18 hours a day. I give and give and give to all of my clients, whether they're members in Collective Women's Leadership, whether I am mentoring them personally, whether all of those things. If you know, I think people can see when they meet me, whether it's at Coffee Connect or if I'm talking about collective women's leadership, it comes out pretty quickly that this is not a passion project, and I'm doing everything I can to give back. Whether you're my oldest client is 63 years old. She came to me because she said, I've only been in corporate America. I've never transitioned out on my own, and I'm opening my own business. And she's seen kind of what we've done. And I think that if people I think people know immediately once they meet me, this is not a passion project. Otherwise, I wouldn't continuously do what I do to make it better.
So then, because you've been so successful in walking this out, like what kind of advice do you give to the woman? Like just speaking to that woman who's like, man, I feel stuck, I feel unfulfilled. I'm 62 or I'm 57 or I'm 37 and I don't know what to do. I'm just in a rut.
Yeah.
What do you say to her?
Yeah, well, the more you talk about being in a rut, guess what? The longer you stay there. So
That's
you need to stop your conversation with yourself, both internally and externally to other people, that you're in a rut and you're stuck. So it starts truly from within. And you have to make a very concerted, very, very distinct message to yourself and effort to get out of your rut. So what do your mornings look like? What do your routines look like? How are you showing up every single day? Are you showing up to meet your friends for coffee and just complaining the entire time? Because you
right.
are the energy that you attract. And if you want to continuously be stuck in a rut, you choose to stay there. No one's making you stay there. You are choosing to stay in a rut. And my friends I allow, and my clients I allow for them to have 1 or 2 rut days a month, right? We're allowed to stay in our sweatpants and our beds 1 day a month because we don't want to get up and face the world because we give so much outwardly. But truly, it's a decision you're making. So first of all, if you're in a rut, decide to get out of it. Tell your friends you're getting out of your rut. Tell everyone you come into contact with that you are doing absolutely great. Put on your face every day that makes you feel your most confident self. And this gets a lot of controversial opinions, right? When I say, and I think we've had this conversation, right? We've had this, you know where I'm going with this.
Go
Well,
ahead,
be
just say it.
very specific. You have to get out of bed and wash your face and wash the sleep out of your eyes. If you're not a full makeup girl, I get it. But I promise you, you feel better with some moisturizer on your face, with a little bit of mascara and a little bit of chapstick or lip gloss. You will feel 1,000 times better if you put in the effort. I'm
I'm
not
with
saying you have to wear mascara, people. Please don't get please do not get this message wrong. You have to feel your best. And I promise you, you do not feel your best with your hair a mess, with crud in your eyes, showing up to meet your friends for brunch or coffee or even to work. You're not showing up confidently. You're not showing up as your best self, and you'll stay in your rut.
That's so good. I'm just like clapping my hands over here because I agree with you. Like when it really comes down to it, I think every woman goes through challenges.
Sure.
It's just gonna happen. If you wanted perfection, you're just not gonna find it in this life. But here's the thing, I think that you can get stuck, but it's a choice to stay stuck.
Right. Right.
It's a
You're exactly
choice and it's a decision. It's a really tough decision to stay stuck. And really, it just comes down to who you allow in your inner circle, like who's talking to you. I love what you said about that negative self talk. And what I find is a lot of people, they listen to a voice and it's not even their own. How can you still be operating with somebody else's voice and allowing them to rent space in your mind? And just kind of on that point is because women can get stuck. One of the things that I find with women is motherhood can become an identity. So
Mhm.
we can get stuck in the routine, but then stuck in motherhood being the only thing that we're good at. It's the only thing that we do. So, how have you managed not to just allow yourself to be defined by your motherhood? Because if we're not careful, our kids' great mistakes will define us. And guess what, girl? Their worst mistakes will try to define you too. So, what do you do to make sure that motherhood doesn't define you, but Joyce defines you?
You have to find something to do outside of motherhood. If you are not a working mother, which that's fine. If you're not a working mother, you're working in the home and you're raising the family, you have to make concerted efforts to find a group outside the home that is not a child play date with other moms. You have to make a concerted effort to go back to who you were prior to motherhood. Did you like fashion? Did you like corporations? Did you like exercising? All of these types of things. And I think it's important to not be defined by motherhood because it lasts a very short amount of time, as you know. We are empty nesters. We're always mothers, right? But I made a very concerted effort my son's junior year to go back to grad school, knowing that he was going to be gone. And the second thing I did was launched my company, his launched Collective Women's Leadership, his first year out of the house, because I could pour my love into everything that I've always loved to do, which is mentor and give back to women and show them this space. But you have to figure out who you are because the time the children are at home is so short. And once they're gone, you should start thinking about it probably around like 12, 13, 14, what your next move is going to be after the children are gone, because that is, otherwise you stay stagnant, you will be in a rut, and you will not be happy with yourself.
So have you seen the consequences of not defining oneself beyond motherhood? Have you seen what happens to women who never make a decision to go out for a coffee with a girlfriend, to join some kind of group, to be involved in some kind of network when their kids do leave the nest? Have you
Yeah,
ever seen it?
they're the most unhappy individuals I've ever come across. And unfortunately, they're not in my circle because I've tried. You know, I think we've all tried to give it, we've all had friends or all had women who come into our circles that we want to give to and help lift one another up. But if they are choosing to stay stuck, if they're choosing to stay stagnant and not kind of find who they are, and just complain. Unfortunately for me, I'm to a point in my life that I don't have the energy to continuously try to bring you out of a rut if you're choosing to stay there. And I call some of my friends out sometimes who are going through ruts. And I've heard it, maybe 5 or 6 times, which is okay. But by the seventh or eighth time, if they're still telling me, I go, listen, how long are we going to stay here? Because we got to get you out. And I'm going to help you get out, but you're not going to like these conversations. And I think that's why people would probably describe me as like their hardest friend, but kind of most loyal. I'm not the fluffy friend. I'm not the friend that's going to sit there and just pat you on the back and give you a hug and say everything's going to be okay when you're choosing to stay there.
I love that because I've also seen it on the other side that when you wrap your entire identity, your entire essence, like all of your joys in life and all of your pain in life is wrapped up in your children. When they leave, then you are now no one.
Right.
With nothing and no voice. And another one of the issues that I see with women, because I coach women, is that they don't go for whatever that dream is or starting the business, and it has to do with family drama. They get sucked up in the vortex with the family drama or with the family issues, or aunt such and such is doing this, or my mama said that, or or my kids are doing this. And so what happens is they get so sucked up in everyone else, they don't execute on themselves. So what would you tell a woman who is like, yeah, Joyce, like that's all great, your son is in college and you're living the life, but how do I like help me so I don't get stuck up in this family drama because it keeps sucking me in?
Create a plan for yourself. Be intentional with the plan. Be intentional with the reps that you're putting in. Because I always go back to the same example, right? We all want six-pack abs at the gym. But if we go once, are we going to have them? If we go twice, are we going to have them? No, to get your six-pack abs or to lose the last 10 pounds that we all want to lose, we have to be diligent. We have to show up. We have to put in our reps in anything you're doing. So you have to start creating a plan. You have to start creating and knowing the family drama is always going to be there. People are always going to judge. But until you truly remove yourself and say, here's how I'm elevating myself above this family drama. Here's how I'm protecting myself for when my children leave. I am not going to be defined by motherhood. Here are the action plans and steps I'm going to put in place. It's just as if when you're at work and you're asked to create your action plan for the year. It's just as if you're at work and you're asked to create your review for the year. If you don't treat your own life and your own purpose, like the most important job that you have as a CEO, you are losing badly.
So good. I'm just thinking to myself that it's amazing how many people will have a plan for their kids' soccer, but won't have a plan for their own life. And will just allow
Yep.
family, just because they're family, I always say family does not get permission to have a word at your table. That's not the way this works. And sometimes and that goes back to that lack of self advocacy and not utilizing your voice. I've even met women who said like, I was raised this way. I'm like, girl, you're 47. You haven't been raised in 30 years. Are we
A long
still
time ago.
using the BS excuse? I wasn't raised this way. Give
Yeah.
me a break.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
totally give me a break. So there are so many issues that women have that just keep them stuck. Like what would you say are some of the main issues? Whether it's with the, I don't want to like point out millennials. I'm married to a millennial.
Well,
Yes.
you go, girl. Wow. That's a whole other conversation.
So my husband's a millennial, and it's so funny. I always make a joke because we go to get coffee. He gets his oat milk, and I'm like, "There you go, you millennial, you and your oat milk and your avocado toast." But I love millennials. I'm married to one. But a lot of women have specific issues that keep them stuck, whether it's self sabotage or fear of rejection. Like, what do you see are some of those common themes that women have that really keep them stuck in that rut?
They're afraid of what everyone else thinks. Period. End of story. Exclamation point. Done. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of what people are going to think about them. They're afraid of what people are going to talk about behind their back. They're afraid of what they'll look like on camera. They're afraid of what their aunt is going to say. They're afraid of what their sister's friends, best friend's husband's going to say. That is what keeps everyone from success. I don't give a flying flip what anyone says about me, what they think about me, what they think they know about me, because they will never have the story straight. The only one that knows the whole story is me.
So good. It's all down to like fear of rejection
It's fear, no, and being judged.
and being
And
judged.
and unfortunately, when they live in these and they wrap themselves up in to everyone else's life, right, on social media, which has become a big issue, right? I work with a lot of women who own really, really great companies who are looking to elevate their companies. And we talk about their personal branding strategy and then their platform strategy. They are afraid of what people are going to think about them when they get online and when they start doing reels or when they start, talking about their professions. But when we all are able to use this for good and then talk about our callings or our passions, right? Kind of like similar to collective women's leadership, you see it oozing out of me. I'm going to see it oozing out of you. Whoever is on the other side is going to love the authenticity because you can't fake the authenticity.
There's a lot of that fear. I say a lot of times it's not the fear of the action, it's the fear of the outcome.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of times that's what I've noticed is that, I mean, because like, let's just be honest. How hard is it to put a reel on? I mean,
Yeah.
how hard is it? It just takes a couple of minutes. So it's not you actually taking the action, it's the outcome as a result of the action and what people's response is. And when it all comes down to it, you shouldn't be allowing somebody else to rent space in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
rent free.
Yeah.
So worried and wrapped up in what they're going to say about you. So when it comes to rejection, fear of it, like, do you have an example of a time in your life where you were rejected and then you had to overcome it? And how did you do it?
There were numerous times I was rejected. So I spent 22 and a half years in high-end luxury retail. And I was trying to transition out of brick and mortar retail and get into something that was not retail. And I probably applied to hundreds of jobs. And they continuously told me that my skill set was not relevant because they just saw me as someone who worked in retail. And that's what I really get frustrated with is people aren't, once you're rejected, then I would always go back when I was rejected for numerous positions. I would ask, what could I do better? What did you see in me that was not qualifiable? And for what reason? Thank you so much, because I think criticism and any feedback is a gift. So I always ask for that in rejection. They would give that to me, and I was almost rejected at the company I left prior to starting CWL. And luckily, someone took a chance on me because they saw something in me. But I always like to take chances on people. And I feel as though if you've been rejected numerous times and you get over it, because rejection doesn't last forever, you have to keep going. You have to keep going and fight to get off the ground, and fight not to be told no. It takes a fight. Again, it takes reps. You've got to practice. Like if you're rejected, you've got to then practice how you react to the rejection and remove yourself from the egotistical thought. It's really not about you. It is not about you. It's about the person that rejected you for whatever reason. So I think that once you put in your reps of being rejected, you get a lot better at being rejected, and you realize that something else is waiting for you out there. And I think faith and hope, at times, it's not a strategy, of course, but they get you through a lot of those things. And you get up and you apply for 5 more jobs, and you get up and you apply for 5 more jobs, but you have to ask for the feedback all the time.
What you really are talking about, Joyce, I love that, is a rejection management plan.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just, oh, I'm so scared, I'm going to be rejected if I go and I talk to this person, if I put this video out, if I make this, if I take this step. It's not about if you're going to get rejected, it's about when, because it's going to happen. And so you just kind of breaking that down is you put your foot out there, you got rejected. Step 1, you put yourself out there. Step 2, in your rejection management plan, you get rejected. But guess what step 3 was? You got the feedback.
Right.
Why is it that I got this feedback? And then you probably course corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Because what was the point of getting the feedback if you didn't correct yourself?
Correct.
And then number 4, you went out and you did it again.
That's right.
You made a decision to, hey, I'm not going to do just 1 job. I'm going to do maybe 5.
Yeah.
And then 6, you integrate faith and hope. And hope is not a strategy, but you have to attach your hope to something in order to have the energy for this strategy, is what I would say. So I love what you said. It's just like having an entire rejection management plan. And so with that being said, there's always going to be disappointments. Like it's going to happen. How do you manage dealing with disappointments, especially when they're difficult and it's something that, hey, it's an expectation and it didn't happen the way you were really hoping for?
I have mastered the art of the pivot, and let me tell you why. When you are starting anything new, whether that's a new job, whether that's a new company, you have to not be married to your day-to-day operations of how you think something is going to go. If something doesn't work, you pivot. If something doesn't work, you pivot again. There are times within launching Collective Women's Leadership through this last year, I pivot almost, I would say, 4 to 5 times a week in regards to our strategy and how we're launching things. Because maybe, this reel didn't hit right. My messaging's not right. What we're calling this isn't working. My call to action on some of things isn't working. Let's transition the website. Let's be sure that our newsletters. So all of the things I'm heavily, heavily involved in, but I'm not married to any decision. One day I think something's going to work. Fantastic. It doesn't work. It falls flat on its face. And you want to make sure that when you fail fast and you fail cheap, and you get back up and you do it again, and you pivot, fail fast, fail cheap, do it again. And you cannot be scared of failing.
Love it. What you're talking about is operating in a VUCA environment. Volatile, uncertain, changing, and it's ambiguous. And so in order to manage those disappointments, even in daily life, you have to be able to manage it. Again, it's this thought just came to be. It's being married to your mission for Collective Women, but not the management of it.
Right.
And just understanding that if something didn't go right, like you don't take it personal. Oh, that's just feedback. It sounds like you're a master of getting the feedback as a sign to say, hey, I'm not going to start getting it all up into my feelings. I'm a failure. Nobody wants me. Nobody cares. No. I just need to pivot. I just need to get another strategy. So As we close, like, I have a question for you as far as wounds, because a lot of women live with wounds. And I believe that a lot of times our biggest wounds and our biggest pain can really give us a lot of power,
Mhm.
really propel us into our purpose. Would you be willing to share like some of those a wound that you experienced that really at the time it wasn't a great story, but now it's become part of your story?
So I think there's many wounds, right? So I was raised by a single mother when single mothers were leaving their husbands. There were no like child support laws. They weren't what they are today, right? Women were leaving after not working. They were defined by motherhood and leaving with the children in tow, and they were going to go pave their way in corporate America, which at the time in the late 70s, early 80s was not a thing that women were doing still, right? Women in corporate America in the early 80s was still very backwards. Um, a wound for me is my mother got a receptionist job, probably making minimum wage, if that. And my parents had just gotten separated. And my mother went to the grocery store and we just got only the basics like milk, bread, meat, anything we just needed for that week for the grocery store. Nothing fun, like no fun snacks or anything, just the basics. And my mother swiped her credit card, it declined, was swiping some other credit cards, all declined. And then she tried to write a personal check and they wouldn't accept it because obviously her credit cards were declining. And I was probably 7 or 8 years old and I look up to her and I see this sheer terror on her face. There's white, literally white coming over her. We had to leave all the groceries there that day. We did not go home with groceries that week. And my mom took my hand and she looked down upon me. Not only was I embarrassed, but it's a huge wound. She looked down on me and she said, never, ever, ever depend on anyone else, especially a man, for your livelihood or anything you do. And that stuck with me. You talk about a wound. Like I was 7, like I didn't even understand what that meant. The problem with, so it's hardened me a lot, right? My husband and I have this conversation often, and he goes, I appreciate your independence and I advocate for you. And in terms of how independent and headstrong you are with your work ethic and things that you do and everything that you've accomplished, but it's hardened you a little bit as a wife.
That's so good. And I just thank you for just being so transparent because something like that can really harden people and can make them feel like they can't go on. I think we all have the power of choice.
Yeah.
That situation didn't define you. I mean, I grew up very poor,
Yeah.
food stamps,
Right.
all of it. So it's really not about the situation defining you, but it's about you making a decision to define you. And there's this, I don't, have you heard of an attachment theory?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, they say that people who are securely attached do better, and then people who have these backgrounds they do worse. But I sometimes wonder when I come across people and the women I work with, a lot of the women that have been through difficult things, they have a resiliency about them that I really personally think allows them to have the intestinal fortitude to keep going.
Right. That's
I
right.
don't I don't know if I would have had the intestinal fortitude to say, I don't have a choice but to keep going. What am I going to do? I'm going to lay here and quit.
Right. That's right. And survival has a lot to do with it. I then was able to watch my mother like put on her heels and her pantyhose and her full face of makeup every single day when she was going into the office and she rose to the top. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be just like her. I'm going to put on my makeup every day. I'm going to put my heels on every day, put my suit jacket on every day. That's what I looked up to then from that 7 on up. I just watched her propel her way through corporate America. And she did one hell of a job from the bottom, right? Like all of us, we all start somewhere. We're all starting at the bottom, but she got up every day and did it, regardless of who was sick and who was crying. And like, if you have a headache, you're going to school. Like, there's no other choice. I was the first person dropped off at daycare and the last person picked up at the YMCA. I was there at 7 a.m. and picked up at 6:15.
And then I'm wondering if people they see you and they just think, ah, she's got it easy. Oh,
They
she
all do.
just
They all think that. Every one of them have thought that. Every single one of them have thought that. I'm the first person in my entire family to get 2 degrees. My undergrad and graduate. No one else has ever gotten a degree. I fully funded them and did it myself. I came from a really, like, my upbringing wasn't great, but I wanted to be something, you know, I moved to New York City sight unseen, bought a one-way ticket when I was in my early 20s. It changed my entire life.
I love it. And so what I want you to do is just talk to that woman who's still living in that rut. Maybe it's motherhood, maybe it's her job, and she feels like she's got so many wounds. She's been watching too many YouTube videos. She feels like, you know what, this is an excuse for her to say stuff. I want you just to give her a message that she doesn't have to stay that way, but she can be a powerful woman and she can live her life. What would you tell her?
I would say you are a total badass. You absolutely can do this. Get up every day. Make 5 small goals for yourself to get out of the rut. Just 5. Making your bed counts as something. You know, taking a shower and putting on something on your face that makes you feel great, because we know I'm going to get hate for that, that makes you feel great, and putting on a fresh pressed outfit, get out of your sweats, get out of your Lululemon, get out of the, you know, put on some structured clothes that make you look nice and feel powerful, and go conquer some things. Even if that's making your bed and meeting someone for a cup of coffee and asking how you can be better. Like, do you have any help for me? Like, today I'm struggling with XYZ, and take it and do it and put in your reps. And it takes only 21 days to form a habit. I promise you, if you do that for 21 days and you're intentional with getting out of your rut, by the 22nd day, you're going to see the sunshine and you're going to feel like one heck of a woman.
That's so good. Well, Joyce, thank you so much for your wisdom. And I just admire what you've done with Collective Women, but I really admire you as a person. You're a beautiful woman, a powerful woman, a lover of women. And so, where can women find you if they want to find out more about you?
So you could find us all over everywhere at Collective Women's Leadership. So that's on Instagram, that is Collective Women's Leadership on LinkedIn, and then of course, collectivewomensleadership.com. And if you have not downloaded the app, the Collective Women's Leadership app is available on the App Store and Google Play.
Thanks for joining me,
Thanks
Joyce.
so
I
much.
really appreciate you.
It was an honor being here.